So you were isolated and tortured?
After that, a little bit here, a little bit there. They would take me out 2 or 3 weeks at a time, put me in isolation.
What do you mean isolation? What, special room?
Yeah, special
Only
room.
by yourself?
Yeah.
Only by yourself?
Solitary.
Solitary.
Yeah. And then they would let me back into the company, and they decided to form what they call a reactionary squad.
Right.
And they selected me to be the squad leader. So now I was responsible for any damage that these guys did. It would all fall on me. But we were pretty cool, you know. But at one time, May Day was a big holiday with the Chinese because it symbolized something with the Russian Revolution and the Chinese Revolution. And usually on these holidays, they would feed us better. We'd get white rice,
right,
maybe a little bit of pork, sometimes even flour. Mm-hmm. And then, so that night I had to go to the latrine during the sleep, and I saw these big banners, red banners, you know, outside, ready for the march tomorrow, the next day. So I told my guys in my squad, I said, I'm not going to march because there's going to be photographers there taking pictures for our paper to come into the papers how well we're being treated. I don't want to be part of that propaganda. To make a long story short, when we all fell out that day, my squad and myself, we went back into our room. Now the rest of the company, they saw we weren't marching, they went back into their rooms. Then the word went down to the British company, with the 400 British. They heard the Yanks are marching, they went back in their rooms. The next night, in the middle of the night, they came with a flashlight, they took me out, and they put me in solitary. That's when I was confined to those wooden boxes. I don't know if had you heard anything about that?
Yeah. Tell me.
It was a wooden box. We called it the kennel.
Right.
The box. It was about 3.5 feet high, 2 feet wide, about 5 feet long. And they put me in that. I was in that for 8 months. But there was like a whole bunch of other 2 or 3 different buildings. And it varied the length of time how people stayed in them. But I was the last one. After everybody was out of those wooden boxes, I was the only remaining guy, me and an Englishman, Keith Godwin. And then from there, when they let me out, that was in December of 1952. They let me out of the box. They gave me like 4 or 5 letters that my family had written to me that they held on to.
Hold on.
Yeah.
How long were you in the wooden box?
8 months.
By yourself?
Yeah, in handcuffs.
8 months?
8 months, from May to December.
May to December. I mean, you were not allowed to come out of it at all?
Twice a day. To go to
Twice
latrine.
a day.
Now, if you had dysentery, you were in serious trouble. So, in fact, one day when I had severe dysentery, and the guard let me out. The guards used to change a lot. So the guard let me out. I went to the latrine, and he's hollering at me to hurry up. And I couldn't hurry up. I just could barely move. And as I came out of the box, out of the latrine to go back into the box, he was poking me with the bayonet. So I turned around and I grabbed him by the throat instinctively. This guy got so frightened, he dropped his weapon and he ran. And the next thing I saw, I didn't want to go near that weapon. I went back into the box. I closed the gate, put the lock on it. Then they took me. Then my primary interrogator came with some guards, and they marched me out of the camp through a village. And then they had me march up, climb up a mountain. And I knew this is what they're going to shoot me. You know, they're going to say I attempted to escape. And I refused to go any, because I couldn't. I was walking with hardly any shoes on. All I had was a pair of just a little underwear, you know, like boxer type white underwear. We got up on top of the hill, and now he's reading off my death sentence, you know, all the charges against me and how I couldn't be here, be rehabilitated, and I was a typical type of Wall Street warmongering, you know, war criminal. And they tied me around, they took the handcuffs off, tied me around the tree, and the guard points a rifle at me. And now at that particular point, I became very calm. Like I was just taking a look at everything, like the sky was a nice blue sky, beautiful day, warm, no breeze, and then went click. no bullet in the gun. So then he said, however, now when he said however, I knew that there's a good chance I can get out of this. And but I told him, look, I said, whatever you do, don't. I pulled a bear. I said, don't put me back in the box. Whatever you do, don't put me back in the box. I figured, and sure enough, they put me back in the box, which is what I wanted, because that was my security blanket. Once I was in there, I was going to be alive. They weren't going to shoot me anymore. It was an old Brer Rabbit kind of thing, where the rabbit says to the fox, don't throw me into the briar patch, and they throws him into the briar patch, and the rabbit took off. And that was it. And then I was there for 8 months.